if I hit the right thing.
All right. So welcome to the second review of the evening. Um, this time around, we've got a game called Zombie Vikings. So this is the second game we've reviewed out of Zoink Games in recent weeks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it's another game that's a bit on the old side. Not as old as Stick It to the Man, but it's been on Steam for uh, since December 7th, 2015. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's been around for at least a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting a lot of hms. But anyway, so Zombie Vikings, apart from being a game literally about zombie Vikings, is a four-player co-op brawler or beat 'em up game. Uh,
A
yeah,
la many of those old arcade games.
right. Or if you want more recent examples, like Castle Crashers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's actually more comparable to that than the brawlers of old. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, I guess there's sort of progression, customization, and stuff. So,
yeah. You know,
but the physical gameplay is still like four people moving through a 2D environment with a little bit of depth. Although it's literally in 3D here, but
right. So
it's mostly linear.
another word of warning before we continue on. Um, this review might be a bit more limited in scope than we usually like, but like for example, I only played about 3 hours of the game, and I know it's actually quite a large game. This is kind of the problem when you're up against deadlines and when you have to cover E3, and you
Mm-hmm.
have, it's like, you know, aside from that, I spent more of my game playing time on Drifting Lands because I was the only one who got that one, as opposed to Zombie Viking games here. This was gifted to all of us by the developer.
Right. Did anyone play more than Adam, or is he still the most?
Right?
I think me and Adam had roughly the same amount of time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
I only played through a few stages, including the one we did in co-op.
yeah. Also, we did attempt to play this game multiplayer, um, but we didn't play as much. We definitely didn't play as much as we wanted to because, well, we spent about 45 minutes setting that up, and
Yeah,
we
Penny
just had
Fan
a
had significant connection issues, so we couldn't stream it.
yeah,
And then also, once we did get in, there was a lot of weird latency issues and frame drops for different people. So,
Mm-hmm.
right
in this
after
kind of game, and in this kind of game, most of the characters have fairly mobile fighting. Like your combo of attacks will move you around a bit, which
right
is awkward to have happen when you aren't moving smoothly.
yeah. That also led to another problem I had with the multiplayer. At least the multiplayer we played. There are two multiplayer modes. There's the campaign mode, and there's also the versus arena.
Hmm.
Regrettably, we did not get to the versus arena due to, well, all of the technical issues just piling up and forcing us to really forego any further gameplay session. You know, do apologize for that. Now, you know, we certainly don't like it when problems of this arise, but they do sometimes arise.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as far as like the latency, I, we weren't sure if it was like I was hosting a game. I wasn't sure if it was something to do with my connection or somebody else's connection, or we didn't really have time to figure that out because
For what it's worth, this has shown up as an issue in other people's reviews.
yeah, I'm like, and it was about midnight by this point, so you know there was a lot of factors in us quitting early, so to speak, or quitting after a limited amount of gameplay. So, with that all on the table, this is our review. Now, outside, like outside of the issues of we were having in the multiplayer, I rather enjoyed this. Like, even as a single player game, it's fairly solid stuff. It's nothing all. It's nothing too innovative or, groundbreaking or anything, but it's not broken. Like, all the mechanics work well enough.
The sense of humor is fairly decent.
Right. It's got the sense of humor that you would expect from Zoink games. Like I saw this kind of stuff in Stick It to the Man as well. Like, I think the biggest problem with the game is a visual one, in that all of your characters look way too similar to each other.
And also a little bit too similar to the background.
I think it's more to the background of the enemies, because they are fairly distinctive, except for Razombie. Because, like, Gunborg is the huge, tall one. Kaka is the skinny one. Forget the short one's name.
It's not a term of design. It's more color palettes. Like, the zombies are all the same. Like,
they're all cool colors.
Green, brown.
Brown and cool colors.
Like, there's a reason why, going back to, say, Castle Crashers, you had very easily, discernible, like, a red knight, green knight, blue knight, that sort of thing. If you knew who your character was, you could very easily visually identify. Like, playing multiplayer, I lost track of my character a lot.
So did I.
Yeah, especially since it was choppy, but
yeah,
it still happened even when the things was going smoothly for a while, because
and that's because your characters just kind of blend into everything. I get that for consistency's sake, but this is a case of consistency actually working against things, because if you've got a lot of characters, this is not a problem unique to Zombie Vikings either. I've played a lot of brawling games where you have, like, 4 people on screen and a lot of enemies. You're gonna lose track of your character. But it happened here more than I encountered in other games, and yes, that includes the fact that we only played one stage. As you'd expect from a zombie game, everything's just kind of drab and very dark palettes. A lot of a lot of muted blues and such.
And again, it changes a little bit in different stages, but not necessarily enough.
Not to a great degree.
It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, I'd recommend, if you're going to play this in co-op, try maybe the local mode if you can, because this seems like it would be a fun game for that, and then you wouldn't have the connection issues probably.
Yeah. Like, now as far as Motor Club aside, like, the story of Zombie Vikings is based very heavily off of Norse mythology.
Although a tongue-in-cheek kind of Norse mythology.
It's also worth noting that the developer, I'm trying to remember if they were from Sweden or Norway. Give me a second here.
I think Sweden.
So I'm thinking Sweden, but the point is, they're from Scandinavia. So they have a direct connection. Yeah, they're from Sweden. Like, I guess you could argue, Viking culture's from Norway, but
Scandinavian. The differences between the Scandinavian countries are modern and cultural, kind of, rather than like dramatic and based on like coming from dramatically different places or anything.
Right. The point is, even though it's from Sweden, like they're going to be versed in Viking culture and Norse mythology and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the framework of the story is you are zombies resurrected by Odin because Loki has stolen his eye. And
because if you know any of Norse mythology, Loki has exactly two modes, and those two modes are causing trouble and being forced to fix it.
This is definitely the causing trouble mode. Like, and I lost my train of thought here.
Sorry. Loki stole one of Odin's eyes.
There we go. And
which is important because that's clairvoyant.
Yeah. And you play, like, your four initial characters are Gunborg, Sigurd, Hedgie, and Kaka.
Yeah, all of the names are kind of puns, and they all have kind of different abilities based on that. Kaka is a zombie Valkyrie. She has a raven cloak, and her abilities involve like flying a little. Gunborg is a big ol' Brunhilde type female brawler. Sigbjorn is a classic Draugr. His visual gimmick is that his like lower body and in one of his arms has been replaced by an octopus. And then I still can't remember the little blue guy's name.
Hedgie.
But he's Hedgie. Yeah, he's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, spin attacks. He's very fast and hyperactive and doesn't talk much.
Yeah. So it's worth noting that there's a great deal of character diversity, not just visually, but all of your characters will attack differently, will have different stats, different unique attacks.
Yeah, you have a normal attack, you have a charged attack, which is different for every character. You have a signature attack, which is different for every character, and you have a charged signature attack, which is different for every character.
You also have a dashing attack, and you have a drop attack. There's actually, it's quite a variety of combat for a brawling game. There's also not just a character thing, but you can customize swords and runes. Swords, and they can be found by finishing levels or completing side quests.
And they do different. They like tweak your speed, the amount of damage you do, and how much health you have.
Right, or they might have special powers. Like I got the skunk guard, I think. Which also poisoned enemies. I actually didn't like this sword because it did damage for shit otherwise.
Yeah, there's one that does like extra damage on backstabs, but otherwise just does nothing. Yeah, and the only other sword available to buy at the very beginning of the game, although you still need to get enough to afford it, is called Trash Blarg, and it is the hard mode sword.
Yeah, here we go. It's actually called
bad at everything.
Yeah, it's Stinkner. And you will unlock more as the game goes on. It's got a lot of it's got 25 plus levels in 8 different worlds. So that's fairly content rich for a brawler.
But they are at least like they're not all exactly the same, and you don't have to go back through the same level over and over. Like you might have to replay a level a couple times to finish a side quest, but
yeah.
Only if
It's
you
like,
miss it the first time. I believe they're all finishable the first time through if you keep your eyes open.
They are.
they are, side quests are side quests. You don't need to complete them.
Right. It is marked on the map whether you completed them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
That kind of thing
I,
bothers you, but you don't need to complete the game.
I wish I had more. I would have had more time this week to play this game because I found it a really good experience. Now, you know, maybe not the best brawler ever, but you know, like any brawler that I find enjoyable in single player, I think is worthwhile.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It is.
Um, there's also a bunch of DLC. One of which is uh, recently added to the game. Like I think in the past couple months, you get Raz Zombie from Psychonauts as a guest
He's
character.
an undead version. He's an undead version of Rasputin. Has some psychic powers. Doesn't talk much, if at all.
Yeah, he doesn't talk like that. That's one. Of the, I'll be honest. That's one of the reasons I like selecting Raz as my character because he didn't have any lines of dialogue. The game definitely, you know, definitely falls into the "would you just shut up already?"
This almost seems like it's almost aimed towards a younger demographic.
Pretty sure it is.
And there are two other DLC characters. One of them is a zombie Viking version of Ray from Stick It to the Man, which we reviewed, like 3 weeks ago.
Something like that.
And the other one is Frostbjorn, which has ice powers, but I don't know anything else about him.
I'll say right now, not worth buying these. I think each character is $3.
Yeah, and then there's like a $5 soundtrack.
The soundtrack, now I'm trying to figure out, very hard rock. I'm trying to think if that's because of Sweden or some other reason.
I don't know if they're going for like not quite symphonic metal, but the stuff that they have that you always hear from Scandinavian music.
Right. Like, let's see.
The art style is very storybooky.
The art style is once again fitting into the aesthetic of Zoink games. Like,
yeah.
It looks like it's got its differences, but it's it looks like Stick It to the Man. Like,
it looks like one of the weirder storybooks, like the Stinky Cheese Man or something.
Right. I'm like, once again, the art can be very off-putting because, well, it's, it's deliberate.
It's not pretty. It's kind of gross cute.
Yeah. Like, and that's another thing about brawlers, that there's not all that much to them. I mean, there's a lot here, but
you go through the stage killing lots and lots of small enemies and gathering life power-ups, which are brains here, and money to buy things.
Maybe I'll revisit this game when I have some time. I mean, it's like I said, didn't play all that much, not out of a lack of want, but a lack of time. So it goes. But price, outside of the DLC characters and the soundtrack, which is a mere $5, or you can buy the entirety of the DLC for $10.97.
And does that include soundtrack?
I don't think that's an actual discount. I think that's just the $4.99 plus $2.99 plus $2.99.
Yeah, no. Your actual discount and probably your the way you should buy this is the um, Zombie Vikings plus DLC plus soundtrack bundle, which is $15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as opposed to the regular edition. Now these are all Steam prices, so I'm not sure if it's different on the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. Uh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
going,
about a 25% savings if you do it that way, I think.
yeah, it's like, well, more to the point, the regular edition is $12. So for
Mhm.
like $3 more, you get everything.
Right. Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
And
and
the game is pretty well worth $12 as it stands. So
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, especially if you can go in for multiplayer sessions. Like,
Mhm.
this is a really good price for it. Like, and yeah, I would definitely recommend getting the complete bundle. Like, don't buy this separately. That's just now rip off.
Mhm.
It like it really doesn't compare. Like, it's like $11 versus what, $3 here.
Yeah.
Um, so final thoughts on Zombie Vikings.
I thought it was fun. I wish I had a little bit more time to play it.
Yeah, like again, I wish the characters stood out from the background a little bit more, but other than that, it's fun.
Yeah, like,
It's a shame that the online multiplayer would be a lot of fun.
oh right. One last problem I had was there were some long load times, especially loading the game up. Like a game of
Yeah, that's a little weird.
yeah, and I think we all had this problem.
Well, and I also had audio issues. Like, all of my sliders were set to mute, and I got just loud volume coming from the game still.
Oh right, and if there's another problem with the audio I had is the music tended to be overwhelmingly loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this just
Yeah.
in general is a very loud game.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that can be fixed with an update, or if it's just our computers, or what.
Hard to say. Uh,
Yeah.
I guess they're still supporting this game. Um, let me see. What was the last note here? Oh no, like it looks like it's from 2015. So,
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how much more support this game is going to get. It's rumored that Zombie Vikings is coming to the Switch. Now, we did an interview with Zoink Games a few months ago, and they could not confirm or deny um, that they were bringing Zombie Vikings to the system. They may be, they may not be. Like,
We're not even sure if they know.
yeah, that was actually kind of what it's like they weren't sure if they wanted to put the resources into it.
Hmm.
You know,
But I do think this game would be very good on consoles.
well,
It would be.
it is on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4.
Mhm.
As far as the Switch version goes, I could see this being good on the go. Now,
Mhm. Especially if you can team up and
yeah,
do
Because
more
the control
multiplayer
system
that
is,
way.
the scheme is simple enough. You could easily just hand somebody a Joy-Con and be like, yo, play with me.
yeah, it's like, yeah, it definitely worked with the two Joy-Con feature.
Now,
Like,
whether you be able to tell both of your characters apart on that small of a screen on the go is something entirely different to be seen.
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I might even. I mean, I haven't played it, so I can't tell for sure. But just going by theme, I might recommend if you have one, if I have an Xbox or PlayStation, trying that version instead.
Usually the Xbox, at least the Xbox version, has a trial thing of Xbox Live games, so you might be able to get kind of like a demo there. I don't know about PS4. I haven't looked this up on there.
Mhm.
So that will about do it for the Fragments of Silicon reviews for the week. Um, on the week ahead, uh, do you have the MSP information in front of you there, Petty Fan?
I am looking for it. I don't know. Yeah, he didn't send me it.
I remember there was a bit of back and forth about the schedule yesterday.
Yeah.
What week was what's his name supposed to be that you got?
Jesse, he is the 5th.
Okay, so not this week.
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure who this week is.
I think he put
Yeah.
Jay Horsley.
I
I don't
That
know who that
sounds
is.
familiar, but I don't know if it's this time.
Well, he said he's the 21st, so I'm guessing that's who we have this week, but I don't know who that is. He doesn't. He just has Jay Horsley.
yeah. Word of advice: you two need to get on the same page with that MSP schedule.
I sent him a message asking him if he'd get me the list of guests he has, and it went ignored.
Right. So, well, you figure that. Well, hopefully that's all figured out. And there are no more delays. If you were expecting an MSP episode this past week, we didn't have one because of fatigue issues.
Yeah,
Mac had,
apologies. Mac had too much on his plate to be able to conduct an interview properly.
Also, we probably would have passed out because of all the E3 coverage.
Yeah, I'm like no one here was particularly sad that MSP got canceled because seriously, you know so much E3.
When you run hard for 4 days covering games and making notes.
Be glad we weren't actually there.
Oh, God. Like, yeah, I'd
Oh,
like to go
God.
one day, but at the same time, oh, God.
And David would be there as a journalist.
I'd go there as a fan. Fuck as a journalist.
Yeah.
I'm not a masochist.
Indeed. Right. So the week ahead, on our side, no Tuesday interview this week because I wasn't going to, I wasn't going to do that after E3 either if I could help it. Like we do have we do have our last Tuesday interview for the season next week, but we'll get to that when we get to next week. On our main show, Wednesday, June 21st, we will have Ben Ruiz of Colorblind Games. They're currently developing a game called. It's one of those games I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce until I've heard it. It's like Azteist.
I'm not looking at it, so I can't help.
Like, uh, hang on. That's not the right one. Bear with me for a minute. I don't actually have this up. It's Aztez, the game.
Mm-hmm. Like Aztec but with an S.
Yeah, like Aztec. Like, which is coming this summer to PC, Mac, and Linux. Like, console versions after that. Like, here's the Steam page. They I tried to get some. They tried to send some preview codes over, but what they sent me was like a couple of links to their beta test sites, and I couldn't get the login information to work even after a password reset. So kind of said fuck it on that note. Maybe we'll get codes for the game when it's when I don't have to deal with a problematic website. I seriously don't know what the hell happened there. Oh, and it's Team Colorblind. Sorry, not Colorblind Games. And as far as reviews next week goes, first up we will have Smugglecraft. If you recall, we did an interview about that just last week. No, 2 weeks ago. Sorry. It's the roguelike driving game.
Hovercraft smuggling.
Right. Uh, a very curious combination.
For fun and or profit.
hmm And the other one is Conarium. It's an indie horror game. Like it's billing itself as Lovecraftian, which always
Which is an easy thing to say.
yeah. I'm like, it's apparently based off of the novella All the Mountains of Madness, which I gotta admit I'm not immediately familiar with.
The original At the Mountains of Madness.
Well, that's what it said. According to the Steam page, it's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's novella At the Mountains of Madness.
Okay, yeah, that's one of his classics. So
Yeah, I'm like, that's not all that helpful because, inspired by is one of those very nebulous terms.
yeah, I'll see how they pull it off, but at least they are legitimately basing it on Lovecraft.
Yeah. I'm like, also worth noting that tying it back to, well, next week, we are going to be interviewing the developer Zoetrope Interactive next week. I'm like, they're going to be our first Turkish developer.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm kind of looking.
It's not even close to Thanksgiving. No, I'm kidding. My apologies to everyone in Turkey.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll note, I was the only one who got a code for Cornarium. I'm like, and it's kind of pricey. It's $20. So.
Can you spell that?
CONARIUM. I think that's how it's pronounced, Cornarium.
Yeah. Probably.
I'm just hoping it's not your typical indie horror game. It's like
that certainly is a genre that is really easy to
do
in indie, but not necessarily easy to do well.
Yeah. Especially since if you're having Lovecraftian horror, that's a very deliberate style.
Yeah, Lovecraftian horror has a lot of existential dread. It doesn't translate well to jump scares.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm seeing also gore and violence, I shouldn't be seeing that if you're Lovecraftian.
There could be some, but usually not as much.
I'm talking about what we see in like modern horror.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's one of the big problems with Lovecraftian adaptations. Actually, they feel the need to up the gore and especially up the sex. Like that's not Lovecraftian either. Like Lovecraftian stuff didn't really involve sexual stuff all that often.
Yeah, the entire basis of Lovecraftian horror is on how incredibly creepy stuff that's just a little bit different from normal is, and it's stuff that like modern people probably wouldn't even consider that weird, but like.
Right. It's also some of his horror hasn't aged all that well. Like
a lot of it hasn't.
Yeah. Not just in terms of say the racism. Because Lovecraft was, even for his time, a bit of a racist.
Yeah, he was terrified of people who were different than him in almost any way.
Yeah. He's quite notable for it, and I'm kind of hoping that's been left on the cutting room floor, but it's also like the shadow over Innsmouth. Spoiler alert.
The shadow over Innsmouth is a thinly veiled allegory for finding out you had a black grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Also, the actual horror there are fish people. Like
yeah. Well,
It's
it's not
one of
just fish people. It's finding out that there are fish people hiding in society, and you're one of them. Spoilers. Spoilers for a 100-year-old book.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Anyway. I'm like, so that'll about do it for this recording. Be sure to join us on Wednesday for Fragments and MSP. Like Mac has said, there won't be another delay of show, which is especially important because any sort of delay of show going forward is going to kind of mess with the current schedule over there. Now, anyway, so until then, I wish you good gaming.